I always like this time of a Tuesday morning when we get to delve into some of our local history. And we do that, of course, with History Out There and Harold Peacock, who is on the line this morning. Good morning, mate.
Yes, good morning, Damo. Yeah, you love hearing this, and this week you'll love the love story.
Well, I do. 104 years ago, a Stanthorpe love story of a 13-year-old who wouldn't let geometry or geography stand between him and his true love.
That's right. You'll be loving this story because who doesn't love a love story? And especially because it happened 104 years ago, just a couple of weeks ago was the anniversary. It was on the day before Anzac Day, Monday, the 24th of April, 1922. And that's when a 13-year-old boy, John Warren, he was reported missing from his home called Marathona in Oriole Road, Clayfield in Brisbane. Now, he was a pupil at BBC, which is Brisbane Boys College at Toowong. His father was Charles Warren, an engineer and Brisbane tea merchant. His granduncles were James Crombie and John Cameron, both graziers, bank directors and members of the Queensland Legislative Assembly for a decade. So he came from a fairly well-to-do family. Now, young John left home on his Rover bicycle on the Monday morning. And allegedly, it was for the purpose of going to visit the new steamer Sophocles. I think I said that right. Sophocles. Anyway, it had just arrived from England on a maiden voyage and was berthed at Tenerife. Now, when his disappearance aroused alarm with his parents, there was a suspicion that he might have tried to stow away on the ship.
Oh.
Now, this, however, was baseless, and a search of metropolitan Brisbane was undertaken by the police. But it was not for another 4 days that the 13-year-old was missing for 4 days, and it was on the Thursday that John was discovered at Glengallum outside of Warwick.
Wow.
Now, he'd cycled from Brisbane, Clayfield, to the Darling Downs. Now, that's a journey of more than 150 kilometres. Not bad for a 13-year-old.
No.
Now, John made a condition of his return home that French and geometry be struck out from his school lessons, because those subjects he just found got on his nerves. He just didn't want to do French geometry or he wasn't going home.
Okay.
Now this is a remarkable story, but especially when you find out that John's brother Charles was later charged with unlawfully killing a plainclothes policeman.
Oh.
And that John himself became a war hero and was awarded a military medal for bravery at Milne Bay in New Guinea during the Second World War.
Wow.
And just briefly, it was in 1942 in combat against the Japanese. John led the platoon fighting at close range and under heavy fire, advancing across open ground, despite being wounded, continued to lead his men with complete control. And that's why he got his medal. And also, if you think Oriole Road at Clayfield that I mentioned before, if you think Oriole Road sounds familiar, that's because it probably is, because just last year, a teenage boy was stabbed there when around 100 people gate crashed at the end of school party. And on the same road, just a few weeks later, a teenage boy was arrested for fatally stabbing a man at his house with around 30 partying teenagers.
Hmm.
So 13-year-old John Warren in 1922 was, the street was definitely a party street. But there's more to the story of young John Warren than that stuff. And this is where it gets interesting. You see, back in 1922, as a 13-year-old, the reason John cycled 150 kilometres to get as far as the Darling Downs was not to escape French and geometry, but was because of a girl. There's always a girl.
Always, yep.
Yeah, now living at Stanthorpe was a 13-year-old girl by the name of Patricia Denyer. Now, her father was the solicitor Wallace Denyer, who moved to Stanthorpe hoping for a cure to his tuberculosis. But when he died, his wife Rose and their daughters opened the Caves boarding house. It's quite a well-known boarding house, that one.
Hmm.
Now, John, as soon as he was able, moved to Stanthorpe himself and set up as an orchardist at the Summit. In 1939, John and Patricia were married at St Paul's Church of England in Stanthorpe. Patricia wore a 100-year-old diamond brooch that had been passed down through her family. And 2 years later, well, that's when John enlisted for the war and went on to become a war hero.
Right.
So the headline here, of course, is a love story of a 13-year-old boy who cycled 150 kilometres in a bid to be with his girlfriend. Now, John passed away after they were married for 58 years. Patricia lived for another 15 years and passed away at the grand old age of 103.
Wow.
And they're both buried at Warwick, so they're both locals out here. But what beautiful lives they had that were highlighted by that cycling adventure.
Yeah, certainly is, mate. What a great story, and unrequited love from a young chap on the Darling Downs. So it says it all, doesn't it?
That's right. Look, you got to love it out on the Darling Downs anyway, but when there's an extra reason like that, yeah, you hop on your bike and get out there, don't you?
Even if it is 150k to get there.
Yeah.
Now, mate, you'll be posting this story up a little bit later this week?
Absolutely. On Friday morning, I'll post this story. You'll see the story on all my socials, History Out There on the socials, or on my website, historyouthere.com, and you'll see a photo of young John on there as well. It's when he's 13, so it's good to see what a 13-year-old love-struck John Warren looks like.
There you go. And you can also check out our Facebook page because we threw up a picture of him as well.
That's right.
All of those years ago, he found love. Mate, great story. Thank you so much for that. And, of course, we'll look forward to catching up again next week.
See you then.
There we go. Harold Peacock with the latest in our history. Isn't it nice to hear those wonderful stories? Check them all out on historyouthere.com. That's where you'll find them.